So those are the 5 E's. Those are the basic components of the Safe Routes to School program. We're approaching our 5th cycle of applications. The application will be available on our website on January 3rd of 11. It'll be the 5th cycle, as I mentioned. Applicants can apply for up to $250,000 for infrastructure. That's the changes to the built environment, construction. And you can apply for up to $50,000 for non-infrastructure. That's the other 4 E's that I mentioned. So there's a good bit of funding available to make cost-effective changes around schools. You're not going to be able to build brand new sidewalks around the entire perimeter of a school, but you can make enough improvements that you can improve the safety of the kids who will participate in walking and biking. Safe Routes to School projects can be funded within 2 miles of an elementary or middle school, and as Matt mentioned, that's K through 8, but if you do have a high school that includes 7th grade or 8th grade, those schools are eligible. If it's a school that's strictly 9th to 12th, we can't fund that. Maybe in the new appropriation that Congress puts forward, maybe they will include high school. That's something that has been discussed, but that's not something we can fund right now. Any 501c3 local government and the like can apply for Safe Routes to School. Here in New Orleans, we have 3 active applicants that were funded. Drew Elementary on St. Claude, the Esperanza School on Carrollton, and International School on Camp. And those were 3 very strong, high-scoring proposals. I think one of those, if I'm not mistaken, Drew, is on our website as a sample application. So it was really data-heavy. We wanted to put that out there for all those data lovers that would like to apply. So you can go onto our website and see what a completed proposal looks like. The application that's on there, if it's still on there from 2010, is very similar to what the 2011 application will look like. We don't make major changes to it. And you can start to develop your team, which should include not only the sponsor, which in some cases is the school, in some cases it's the local government, or it could be a nonprofit in the area. But you should make sure that when you're developing your ideas for a school and a Safe Routes to School program, that you involve the parents and the principals at the schools. One problem that we have seen that I'd like to mention is that there's a lot of turnover, and it's something that's very common in New Orleans. There's a lot of turnover among principals. And we want to make sure that any projects that are proposed, and especially those that are very well written and that we end up funding, have enough support within the team that developed them, so that if a principal is replaced, if there's some sort of a change in the team, that we can still execute the program with some success. So make sure that you take that into consideration when you're putting together your team to develop your proposal. We also have an opportunity within our application for large-scale non-infrastructure projects that would cover a district, a school district, a city, a parish, or even statewide if you wanted to. They're called the regional statewide non-infrastructure projects. And that's a project that would not at all include engineering or construction, but it would include the other 4 E's. So for example, if you represent a school district or a parish and you'd like to do crossing guard training for all the crossing guards, all the schools in that area, that's something that we could fund. If you'd like to do bicycle safety trainings throughout an entire parish, that's something that we can fund, and we've actually done that before in Lafayette, and it was pretty successful. There was a bicycle safety trainer out there that went to, I think, about 10 schools within Lafayette Parish school system and did 2 weeks at each of those schools doing bicycle safety trainings with the kids, and he worked with the PE teachers to get into the PE classes. So there's a lot of opportunities, lots of ideas. We can fund walking school buses, which are just what they sound like. It's a school bus on foot where there's a chaperone or volunteer that leads children to school in groups so they feel safer. The parents feel more comfortable letting them participate. We've seen that at schools, especially where there are smaller kids, like a K through 3rd school, where you wouldn't want to encourage kids to just walk out of the house and go to school. You want to start them off in a group. So it also addresses the bullying issue. So there's an opportunity there for that, and also bike trains, which is the same thing, only on bike. So that's what we have in Safe Routes to School at the state level, and if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer.
Sure. As Kate pointed out when she started talking, New Orleans has a number of charter schools, and we are what's called a type 2 charter school, which means our students can actually come to us from anywhere in the state. So we don't have a formal school transportation system. We don't have buses, and our kids, for the most part, are driven to school because we have kids who come from as far away as LaPlace and Braithwaite. So how do you address what, through the Safe Routes to School program, which you want kids to walk, right, from the neighborhood to the school, but we don't have that very many kids who live in the neighborhood. But the sidewalks around our school are broken, and Mr. Mendoza promises they're working on that. And we didn't have crosswalks, and Camp Street for a long time when the school was vacant. Camp Street became a thoroughfare for those folks who live uptown, driving downtown to go to work. So we had people who were speeding, people who weren't aware that the school was back, and children were using those sidewalks in their streets. So we looked at Safe Routes to School, and our first response was, well, we don't have a lot of kids walking to school, so this isn't going to help us. But then we started reading, and we started talking, and I went to a Safe Routes to School training with Shalonda, and we started thinking creatively. And we said, this is something we want for our children. So how do we make it happen? So the first thing that we did is we brought together a group of parents, and we brought together a group of faculty and staff members and said, we want this for our kids. We know that this is important for their long-term health. We know this is important for their enjoyment, their safety in coming to school. So how do we do it? We got out there and we started looking at what we had. One of the things that we found is that we're not too far from the expressway. And there's a nice little finger park in the neighborhood, right at the off-ramp of the Pontchartrain Expressway. And we thought, hey, we've got all these parents who are going to work downtown. So we're going to ask them, are you interested in dropping your child off for a walking school bus? Over 30% of our parents wanted to make that happen. So we went, did some surveying, saw that we could get off the expressway, drop your child off at the finger park, and just turn the corner and go right to downtown. So our walking school bus was born. We went to our teachers and we said, here we are on the edge of this incredible city, French Quarter. We've got things like the CAC, the DJ Museum. These are all within walking distance. We're a block off of the streetcar that'll take you all the way uptown to the city. Do we really need to rent buses for you to go on field trips? And our teachers enthusiastically said, we'll do walking field trips.